When they have power over vulnerable life, they kill it? Really?
Justify every other belief that you have on this.
That's the dumbest thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's so awesome that we can just kill our children. Isn't that great?
And so right now, this is so weird. You're like shouting at me. You're crashing out right
This is
never liked abortion.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be going through the recent Piers Morgan debate between Andrew Wilson and some insufferable leftist broad. The bits we're going to be talking about are Charlize Theron, whatever the hell her name is, saying how great it is that her children don't have a father and how she bangs 26-year-olds, and then Lily Allen's monstrous take on abortion. This one gets very heated, and it also exposes some very typical leftist debate tactics, which we're going to get into. So with that, let's get into it.
The latest episode of Call Her Daddy features a lengthy interview with Oscar-winning actress Charlize Theron, entitled I Don't Need a Man. And in it, Miss Theron explains how she reacts to people criticizing her for being a single mum.
I want to just look at them and just be like, do you know how fucking great it is to live exactly how I want to live, to experience motherhood exactly how I wanted to experience it? And I know the next thing they say is well, that's not fair on your kids. Can I tell you something? That will be their story to tell. I can't tell you. I can only tell you that this is the best way that I know how to be a mother to them. And maybe they'll grow up and tell their story, and I will respect that.
Well, she also wanted audiences to know how liberating it is for her children not to have a father.
I love that I don't have to run every fucking thing by a guy. I love that I don't have to, oh my God, co-parent. I fucking love that I don't have to do any of that stuff. And my children, we joke. Listen, I think you can tell, this is how I raise my kids. Yeah. Right? We don't hide this shit.
But don't worry, while Charlize doesn't think husband or father is important in life, she hasn't given up on men altogether.
I found this freedom in my 40s where I'm oh my God. So I just want to say this in perspective. I've probably had 3 one-night stands in my entire life. Okay. But I did just recently fuck a 26-year-old, and it was really fucking amazing.
Fuck yes.
Yes, and I've never done that. And I was oh, this is great. Okay.
Let me just say, that 26-year-old is the luckiest fucking man walking on this goddamn planet. He's walking different today, knowing, oh my God.
He for sure is not, but thank you.
No, he is.
Andrew, your thoughts on Charlize Theron? She doesn't need a man. She likes banging 26-year-olds when she feels like it. You don't need fathers in life. You just need a strong, badass woman.
Well, it's really funny. The reason nobody cares really very much when a 40-year-old attractive woman has sex with some random young man is because it's not impressive. It's impressive when men can bang young women because most men can't bang young women, but most older women can bang young men. So it's just not an impressive accomplishment. Of course, these are the same women who will screech because, Leonardo DiCaprio decides that he wants to change up at 25 years old, any of the broads he has hanging around. But this is not an impressive accomplishment. All a woman needs to do to get laid is go somewhere where there's men and offer it up. It's not the case for men. So it's an unimpressive accomplishment on its face. As to the rest of what she's saying, this is just normal tripe, right? Her kids are the ones who are going to get punished. They're always the ones who get punished. We can look at the data for outcomes on children who are raised in single mother homes. It's not good. It's not good for their mental health. It's not. And by the way, the rates of abuse from having strange men around skyrocket. Terrible idea, and it's exactly the wrong kind of propaganda to be pushing.
So Andrew is exactly right here. But just to give my 2 cents worth, the reason why this is so bad is not just because it's incredibly easy for women to do this. Like he said, they just sort of have to walk into a bar and offer it up. It also goes completely against the idea of female virtue. One of the great challenges that every woman faces in life is contending with the reality that as you get older, your beauty fades. So you can't attach your self-worth and the meaning that you derive from life to that forever. And eventually you have to find other ways of getting meaning and self-worth. And the way in which a woman does that in a healthy way is to have a family, become a good mother, and play the role of a matron in society, where you are a good mother, wife, wife, helper of your community, and role model for other young women. You temper their expectations and you encourage them to become virtuous themselves and remind them of their fleeting beauty. Nobody actually looks at a 50-year-old banging a 26-year-old and thinks it's virtuous or good for the individual or for society in any way. However, the mother who gets the family together for dinner and social occasions because none of the men want to organize anything, or the women whose children have left the nest so she decides to go and do some volunteering at her local church or in her community in some other way. These women are actually revered, cherished, and protected, particularly by men. We have a strong inclination to protect these sorts of women because we intrinsically understand how important their role is in creating a virtuous society, and we respect their selflessness. Now, we're going to move on, but before we get there, guys, I have to introduce you to the fantastic sponsor of today's video, Ground News. Ground News, if you haven't heard of it, is a website that compiles tens of thousands of sources from around the web all in one place. So it saves you the absolute hassle of having to get 20 different subscriptions and go to all these different websites. You can see how all of the breaking news stories are being covered every single day. Ground News is a fantastic tool for me to do my research. Just today, for example, I came across this story. Trump criticizes Putin after approving more weapons for Ukraine. And we can see here the bias distribution. This is pretty much evenly distributed amongst left, center, and right, which is unusual. And then if we want to see how it's being reported by left, center, and right, we can just literally click down here and scroll through all of the different stories from all of the different publications. Plus, they have heaps of different tools like the blind spot and the factuality feature, an all-round winner. And what's better is that Ground News are offering Rattlesnake TV listeners a massive 40% off the Vantage plan, which is what I use. All you got to do is hit those links below, ground.news/rattlesnake. That's ground.news/rattlesnake, or hit the QR code on the screen right here and start your Vantage plan today. And don't forget, guys, when you're supporting a company like Ground News, you support a company that helps to keep independent content creators like myself afloat. So with that, let's get back to the clips.
All right, Taylor Lorenz, isn't it just a factual reality of life that women are predominantly happier with a man by their side and children are predominantly better off in life with a present father?
I think, listen, children are better off in life when they have a loving household, and not all of those households have fathers. I mean, there are lesbian parents, there are, different types of arrangements. I think it's important for kids to have different figures in their life who they can look up to. I think it's really important to expose kids to all different types of figures, but that doesn't have to be, like a man, a cisgender man that's standing around all the time. There's plenty of terrible fathers out there too. So I think it's great that the child is growing up in a loving household, and hopefully, she'll expose the child to lots of different types.
Yeah, but can you acknowledge that we have now been studying this phenomenon of single motherhood for years and years and years, and that the outcomes for children of single mothers tend to be terrible in comparison to the outcomes of children without them? Can you just acknowledge that that is true?
So I think what you're talking about are studies.
I'm asking a question. Don't run from the question. Yes or no? I want you to acknowledge with a yes or no, then a qualifier. Yes or no? Isn't it true that outcomes for children when they're raised by single mothers tend to be worse than those with a mother and a father in the house? Yes or no? Then give me your answer.
So I'd love to respond if you stop talking over me.
Go ahead.
Anyway, most single mothers are not Charlize Theron with millions and millions and millions of dollars. So when you look at studies like that, a lot of it has to do with the economic opportunities that a lot of single mothers have. Women make less than men as a whole. They're subject to more sexism and discrimination. So it can often be more challenging for them to raise a child alone.
So the answer is yes?
No, the answer is Charlize Theron.
It sounds like you just said that the answer is yes. The answer, according to you just now, is yes.
No, any single
and then you just
parent,
make excuses for it. You're like, yes,
Taylor,
but
this is
because
not
women are
right
oppressed.
now. This is so weird. You're like shouting
Taylor,
at me.
can I jump in here,
Do you
Piers?
know what it is?
Yeah, okay, let's bring, hang on, time out.
So what we are seeing here is a very typical tactic by the leftists, and it is obfuscation. They do this to no end. And the reason why we see this so much is because when they come into these sorts of debates, all they have is talking points. So they have their pre-planned talking points, and then whatever question gets asked to them, they will just answer the question with the talking point, and they won't actually directly ever answer a question.
So the answer is yes?
No, the answer is Charlize
That sounds
Theron.
And Andrew knows this all too well. That's why he anticipates this and he picks up on it straight away. And it's why he makes it abundantly clear from the jump that this person is obfuscating. They're not going to answer a question so that the audience can actually recognize that pattern as the debate goes. Now watch Andrew point out exactly what they're doing here. But before we get there, guys, don't forget to smash that like button as hard as you possibly can, with as much force as you possibly can, and subscribe to the channel if you are, of course, enjoying the content.
If a 50-year-old male star was boasting about banging 26-year-old girls, right, and he was boasting about not needing a woman in his life, not needing a mother, all these kind of things, but in reverse, I don't think you'd be approving of this, Ernest.
For starters, I'm all for if it's about consent and respect. They do it all the time. A lot of older men do it all the time on media, on social media, in interviews. It's not an actually uncommon thing. I think the reason why there's a lot of actual shock and awe over Charlize Theron, because a lot of women actually her age don't feel the liberty to do that on a public facing platform. And so that's why we're talking about her. We don't talk about men who do it often on here because it's so norm. I mean, if you look at who's in politics currently right now, they were just doing it their entire career before they got to the White House. So it's not that much of a shock. You know, there's a guy who got elected president.
Yeah, and you screamed bloody murder about it.
And got elected. And so
And you screamed bloody murder about it. What are you
Ernest, the
talking
point-
about? Hang on. You liberals said that was the most horrible thing. He was a terrible
I
role
didn't say
that. How could he? And here's Charlize Theron is saying this, and you're like, she's your power boss, babe, Andrew. Come on.
You go, see, if I talk over him, Pierce would be ready to tell me to be quiet and get my
You were done talking, dude. You were done talking.
Come on,
No, I
Ernest.
wasn't done talking, actually. Can I actually talk?
Oh, man.
You can, Ernest, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So what I was getting at is that there is a double standard. And I think, honestly, like I said before, I don't know what liberal he's talking about, but I was not a liberal that said that Trump talking about grab her by the pussy was the worst thing he ever said, because there's a lot of other things he has said that I believe is far worse and actually should cause more attention. But that being said, I just feel like the only reason why we're talking about it is because women like Charlize Theron often don't do this on a normal. So it feels abnormal, and that's why we're discussing it.
Okay,
Ernest,
Andrew.
you said-
Why do these libs talk out of both sides of their mouth? I mean, look at it. She refused to acknowledge the outcomes for single
I'm
moms.
not a
Pivots
lib.
immediately.
Let's be clear.
Hang on.
Let's be clear.
Immediately.
No.
Hang on. Immediately.
Do not call me a liberal.
Yeah. Look, I'm sorry. If you have progressive talking points, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I call it a duck. So the thing is, right? The libs on the panel very clearly, right? She evades the answer, refuses to give us the answer of if outcomes for children of single moms are worse, refuses, gives us a bunch of qualifiers proving that they are, still refuses to do it. He says, well, this is so commonplace for men. Look at the sexual deviant that we have in the White House, and says, but I'm not throwing a fit about that. I'm not throwing a fit about that, though. Yeah, they did throw a fit about it.
Ineffective discussion. This man is just
I'm
over
sorry.
everyone. Like, he's
Yeah,
very
I know. It's
emotional
an ineffective
right
discussion. I would like I would just like you to actually answer the questions I ask you. Why can't you people ever do that?
So there it is, completely avoiding the topic, completely avoiding the actual questions being asked.
now. Ineffective discussion. This man is just over everyone. Like, he's very
I know. It's an
emotional.
ineffective
And simply sticking to their talking points. But that's because these people are so shallow that if they get dragged into even moderately deep water, if they even have to endure a brief cross-examination, they will completely fold. So they just have to stay where it's knee-deep. And the audacity for this woman to say that she is not a lib is incredible.
single moms
not a
pivots
lib.
immediately.
And on that topic, let's have a look at the next part about abortion and about women gloating about how many children they've smoked.
I smoke, baby, I smoke, Dinky, I smoke,
And we'll see just how based she is.
I wanted to switch gears to something which really did annoy me. Lily Allen, the pop star, former pop star, let's be accurate, talking about abortion.
Abortions, I've had a few, but then again, I can't remember exactly how many.
What, really?
Yeah,
Why didn't this come up in last week's episode where we were just talking about abortions?
because I was just letting you run with it.
Reveal everything.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think maybe like, I want to say 4 or 5.
Yeah, I've heard about 5 too. Lily, I'm so happy I can say that and you can say it and no one came to shoot us down.
No judgment.
No judgment. We've had about the same amount of abortions.
You know what, Taylor? I'm not going to judge them in the way they think I'm going to judge them. I'm not going to judge them for having abortions. I believe in a woman's right to choose what she does with her body. I know, and we'll come to Andrew's position on that. I think we know what it is, and I'll get your view. You know, whether you agree with it or not, you should always treat it, I think, as a serious thing, which should be taken seriously and dealt with seriously. That, to me, was trivializing it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, I hear you, Pierce, and I take your point. I think that most women have a struggle with access to abortion, especially now here in America. And I think that normalizing the idea of having abortion is overwhelmingly a good thing.
We shouldn't normalize the idea of having 5 abortions with 2 women there basically making out, oh, thank God we can talk about this now. Like this is normal. That's not normal to have 5 abortions.
It should be normal to have easy access to abortion. It should be.
I don't dispute that, but that's a political matter. That's a social matter for the women. But it's the way you talk about it, I think, is actually, for example, in America, where it's a really hot potato issue, I can imagine everyone, I'll come to Andrew for what I think will be his response. I can imagine it. He'll be very angry because he doesn't agree with abortion to start with. To then see women, high-profile women like this, famous women, just talking about it in such a glib manner.
Because they want to restrict women's rights and they want to restrict women's access to healthcare. This is essential. Abortion is essential healthcare. And I understand what you're saying, but it is healthcare, yes. And it's really important.
Ridiculous.
Too. It's not ridiculous. It saves women's lives in many cases to have an abortion. And it's really hard for women to get access to abortion. And they feel a lot of shame around it because of the social stigma.
Does it sound, Taylor, does it sound to you like those women feel a lot of shame around abortion? Is that what it sounds like?
The point is that many women are taught, and it sounds like you guys on this very panel want women to feel shame about it. And in fact, they should not.
I mean, you shouldn't be. Should you be proud of it? Is the point? I mean, let me bring Andrew in here. I mean, Andrew, I know your position on abortion, but notwithstanding that, it doesn't really concern me really whether people are for or against it. It's the way they're talking about it, I find. So let's leave the argument about whether they.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
but it's totally self-centered and selfish. And look, she says, "I'm not a lib. Women need to have more abortions." The thing is, have more access to abortions. She lies through her teeth. It's a healthcare procedure. Most women's lives, when they have abortions, has nothing to do with the life of them at all, their physical health at all. Total lies from the left. On top of that, let's just point out that what they're really doing there is they're sitting there going, I just totally murdered 5 of my kids. And the other one's like, yeah, me too. Isn't that great, sweetheart? The other one's like, yeah, totally. It's so awesome that we can just kill our children. Isn't that great? And so we normal people hear. So anyway, we normal people hear this, like regular Joes, and of course we're disgusted by it. The fact of the matter is it just shows a complete and total lack of caring for humanity, lack of caring for children. This is supposed to be the more empathetic sex, and yet when they have power over vulnerable life, they kill it. Really? You're going to convince me that's the more empathetic, more vulnerable sex? Give me a break.
So this is just one of the worst talking points that they ever bring up. It's just so easily dismantled. And it's why they have to revert to things like obfuscation and just sticking to their talking points, because they're trying to say that abortion is healthcare and women's lives can be in danger, whereas we know that that's just not true. The amount of abortions that take place from actually genuinely life-threatening situations is minuscule. These women use abortion for contraception. When Lily Allen is telling us to our face that she's had 5 abortions and she's so proud of that, she's not talking about situations in which her life was in danger. She's talking about situations where she went and had sex with random men. The men have likely ejaculated inside her, and then she has gotten pregnant because purely of her actions, and has decided that instead of taking accountability and instead of not having the sex with the men, or instead of wearing a condom, or even the pull-out method, you're instead going to just go and kill the kids.
Abortions.
This is what they're saying, and they're rubbing it in our face. And this is something that's completely glorified these days. Abortion is not on the left seen as something that's a great tragedy. It's seen as empowering. And this sort of rhetoric makes complete sense when you look at their worldview. And more on this in the following clips.
I just have one little Yeah, I think for me, it's just two things, right? I think that some people will feel like the way in which she went about discussing was tasteless. I think that for people who listened to it, I did. I think that there's a better, in my personal taste, right? I think there could have been a better way she could have said it, but that's just my personal preference. And I think that's just how she is with a lot of things. Lily Allen, I don't agree with a lot of things that Lily Allen says or how she says it per se. And I think that's the real thing here. However, what I think is important is that everybody's getting abortions. This whole libs, far left, far right stuff. I really get annoyed with that because it's almost as if you're acting like only one, like everybody makes decisions based on their political ideologies, and that's just so immature. And this obsession.
We can look at the
reproductive. The libs.
Yeah, we can look at the reproductive stats, and we know which political party's advocating for abortion and which one isn't. We know which political party's advocating for it, which one's not.
I don't come with that. Like, I'm just saying, it's not for me, this is not a libs thing or whatever. It's really just a matter of taste. And that's what
But how could it not be? How could it not be a liberal?
Completely politically charged.
All right, let Jedediah speak. Jedediah.
How could it not be? If liberals are the ones, I mean, just be honest, liberals are the ones that are promoting a pro-abortion culture. Liberals are the ones that are saying this should be celebrated. The word here, Ernest, hold on a second. The word here to be used is these women are celebrating abortions. And you see young women all over TikTok, by the way, and all over social media who are echoing these voices now. So an abortion is something, whether you believe it should be, it was supposed to be safe, legal, and rare. That was the idea when people were advocating back in the day. Pro-abortion advocates were saying safe, legal, and rare. Does this sound rare to you? Oh, every time I have sex, I just run and get an abortion like I went to the dentist.
Healthcare shouldn't be rare. Access to healthcare shouldn't be rare. Access to healthcare.
Taylor, no one's talking about access. No one. You have access to a whole bunch of things in society. That doesn't mean you utilize them. These are women that are going into.
Because when you stigmatize abortion, when you stigmatize abortion, it leads to less abortion access.
Murder. When you stigmatize murder, it leads to less murder.
No one should be like proud or gleeful or joyful or celebratory about it. It should. I think the tone you use to talk about it should be serious.
Can you understand how that stigmatizing sort of framework would be used to restrict access to abortion, saying, well, you're not pious enough, you haven't repented enough, you're not sorry enough, so you don't deserve access. That is what is used to strip women's
Taylor,
right.
It should be stigmatizing. It should be stigmatizing for women to talk about abortion like that. This is sick. This is your empowered women now out there saying, oh, I don't know, I had 4 abortions, 5 abortions, 6 abortions, like you went for a root canal.
You go, girl.
Listen, this is not the face of an empowered woman. This is pathetic. It's sad. And this is the product, sorry to say, this is the product of modern feminism and what it has done to women, that now they weaponize their ability to kill, because that's my view. So I'm going to say it. They weaponize their ability to kill, and they expect society to put a big stamp of approval on it. And people like you do. I'm not doing it. I'm not condoning it. I'm not doing it. I'm calling it out. And if they feel stigmatized by their behavior, then so be it. Maybe that has more to do with their behavior, their crappy behavior, their sick, twisted behavior than it does by what I'm saying about it.
So judgmental. Yeah, actually, you know what? We are pretty judgmental about this. Because what we see there with Lily Allen and whoever the hell else is on the podcast is that they are in fact weaponizing abortion. One of the most vile acts imaginable in the minds of a Christian, where you are murdering the most defenseless, most innocent beings that you possibly can, which is the unborn, which is a child that hasn't even had the chance to live yet. They are rubbing it in our faces and they know exactly what they're doing. And this is why feminism is actually a death cult, because it's not about women's rights and women's healthcare and all these sorts of things. It's about ideology, and they sacrifice the unborn. They sacrifice children at the altar of their ideology. And furthermore, it's about wanting to torture those who don't share your ideology as well. And I think that you can apply this same motive for those who put drag queens in school, for example. What's the worst way that you could possibly hurt Christians or hurt traditionalists? The worst way that you could hurt them would be to capture the minds of their children with these heinous, disgusting sexual ideologies that are a complete affront to their sensibilities, and to target the most vulnerable and impressionable people amongst them, which is obviously the kids. So let's carry on. Let's get into one more section.
Wait. I just want to say this real quick. Let's be real honest here. Even if you personally do not support abortion and you really think that it's a murder, there would be no way, quite frankly, that you want anyone to discuss it. So I think it's intellectually dishonest to act as though we're going to use this extreme of Lily Allen, which I do agree, right? I personally think that the way that Lily Allen discussed it was not the best way. But to be honest, for those who do not support abortion, which I do support a woman's right to choose, there would have never been a way for you to approve it. So you're using the most extreme example as a way to now double down and justify every other belief that you have on this.
That's the dumbest thing. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We talk about murder openly all the time. What are you talking about?
Support it. So why are we talking about Lily Allen?
Yeah, so what? We talk about things we don't support all the time. What are you talking about?
So here's what Piers Morgan and I are understanding. So let's make common sense. Pierce and I both, I assume, support a woman's right to choose. I don't know, but I think we do. We both do not agree about the taste of how Lily Allen did it. However, I think for some of you all on this episode, you're not going to ever agree with this. So stop acting like Lily Allen is an example of all women who discuss having abortions, because it's not true. You just want to use it as an example to dismiss the case of abortions, period. And so that's the reality.
Wait, I see. Hang on. Let me respond. I see. What a genius argument. Yes, Andrew, you think that all murder and murderers are bad, so you're going to point at serial killers and say, see how bad that is? Great argument, genius.
No, what
a wonderful argument.
What's the point?
You haven't responded to his argument, so clearly it's pretty good because you have zero response.
That was the argument. Do you understand that I can take things that are happening socially, point to the worst of them, even if I don't agree with them, to use that as an example of why it's bad? Why thing bad? Thing bad because look, you can see that why thing bad. Why do you not get this?
Right now. You're crashing out right
This
This
is an extreme example.
They never liked abortion. They never did.
This is whether you.
So yeah, I mean, just a genius argument here. Clearly, you use the most egregious examples of the thing that you're against to point out how egregious the thing that you're against is. But in this case, it's not even hyperbole, or it's not even a straw man. Lily Allen just said that she has had 5 abortions. She is a celebrity. She has been on the cover of different magazines, has had hit songs played to billions of people. She's a cultural icon in many ways. And this is so accepted that she is able to just come out brazenly and say that this is something that should be celebrated. At no point did she say it was a life-saving surgery or whatever. She just said that she's had 5 abortions and she's proud of it. All you have to do is just listen to what they say and look at the statistics. Anyways, guys, go check out Ground News. Great value, great company doing great things, helping out individuals like myself. Like the video if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to watch another one, of course, right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.